Hello and welcome everybody to our midseason NFL special. We're going to kick it off with our 2020 midseason awards.
Later in the week, we will be coming at you with our updated 2020 final NFL standings predictions, along with some playoff predictions to go along with that. But for now, let's jump into our very first award with the Executive of the Year award. Our nominees are Chris Ballard of the Indianapolis Colts, Jason Licht of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and John Schneider of the Seattle Seahawks. My pick for this award is going to be Chris Ballard of the Indianapolis Colts. So far, the Colts are 5-2. And they're very strong 5-2 in my opinion, in the sense of there's definitely some moments in their two losses which they could easily be undefeated right now, but they aren't. But Ballard had made some great moves in the offseason, bringing in All-Pro DeForest Buckner, bringing in Phillip Rivers, the quarterback, who ever since that lackluster game against the Cleveland Browns, where people were criticizing him, has been absolutely on fire lately. And just overall, Ballard's made some great moves, and he's built ever since Andrew Luck retired just over 1 year ago, Ballard has made some fantastic moves. Remember, Luck retired in August of 2019, which was not very long ago. In terms of that wasn't even 2 years ago. That was just over 1 year ago, and Ballard has already bounced back and is looking like he's going to bring this team back to the playoffs. But it's a tough road ahead. It's a tough schedule. This team has to really prove it now, and I think if this team does potentially play really well this season, Ballard can go on and win this award because of the moves he's made. Like I said, bringing in Buckner or Phillip Rivers. He had a fantastic draft getting Blackman and Taylor and Pittman. So overall, I think he made some great moves this offseason and really improved this team from their lackluster 7-9 finish last season.
For my pick, I'm going to go with Jason Licht, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I mean, for me, it's a pretty obvious pick. I think Ballard has done a great job with the Colts, but for the Buccaneers, bringing in Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion, who people said he was washed, but he's been on fire in the past few games, was a great addition. Gronk has broken out the past few games. He hasn't been the Gronk that we all know, that we all love and miss, but he's been, I guess this new Gronk, not as good, but he's been pretty decent. And Tristan Wirfs with the 13 pick, who's been a pretty decent offensive tackle for the team. I think there's just too many pretty good moves for them for us to ignore. The Buccaneers have been on fire. I wouldn't say the best team, but they're one of the best teams in the league. They've been a great team so far. They've got playoff hopes. I think a lot of people misjudged them. Some people thought they were going to be, the Super Bowl favorites. Some people thought they were going to miss the playoffs entirely, but they've really blossomed into a really good team at this point that, in my opinion, has the potential to go very far and the potential to win a lot of games.
Let's jump into our next award with the Coach of the Year award. So our nominees are Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Pete Carroll for the Seattle Seahawks, and Matt LaFleur for the Green Bay Packers. So my pick is going to be, you probably saw this coming, but Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers last season were not, what I think they expected to be, missing out on the playoffs. And this year, they're 7-0. They're one win away from already having as many wins as they had last season. And it looks like they're probably going to get it done against the Dallas Cowboys team that has not been great this season. They're the only undefeated team left in the NFL. Normally, this Coach of the Year award just goes to the coach who, normally it's the coach of the best team in the league, pretty much. But it's not always the case. But in my opinion, so far at midseason, you have to give it to Thomas because his team's the best in the league right now, and some of it may have had to do with Big Ben coming back, but he also elevated this team, and he's brought them to this elite level that they are now from the mediocrity that they were at last season, and he was still able to achieve an 8-8 record when he was stuck with the second and third string QBs all season when Big Ben went down, and that's definitely impressive. And this season, he's elevated them even more and brought them to this elite level, like I said. So I think that Mike Tomlin is very deserving of this award. Other two coaches, Carroll and LaFleur, are still great, and they're definitely also pretty deserving of this award. But in my opinion, I'll give the edge to Tomlin.
You pretty much summed it up there. I agree with you. Tomlin has just been great this season. The Steelers have been great this season. A lot of people say they're going 16-0. I honestly don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised. They've got a very easy schedule, but it's pretty much done. You already summed it up. I mean, LaFleur has been great this season. They've had a few rough losses, especially last week, but Aaron Rodgers has been MVP candidate. Aaron Rodgers. Pete Carroll has been great. The Seahawks have been one of the best teams in the league. Russ has been an MVP candidate. Uh, so the other two teams have MVP candidates at quarterback, but the Steelers have just been great overall, all around great team. Their defense is amazing. So I'm just gonna have to give this to Tomlin, but it's close. But it's definitely gonna go to Tomlin just because of how his team is performing.
Let's jump into our next award, Comeback Player of the Year. We were just talking about Big Ben. He's one of our nominees. So nominees are Big Ben Roethlisberger for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Alden Smith for the Dallas Cowboys, and Gronk for the Buccaneers. I think this pick is pretty obvious. Big Ben is an obvious pick here. You know, Alden Smith's been great. He led the sack. He was a leader in the league in sacks earlier on the season, around week 3-ish. Since then, it hasn't really been tremendous, but and then obviously Gronk, you know, he's kind of turned it on the last few games. There's not really you know, a ton of impact players returning from injury that are making a huge impact right now. But Big Ben's definitely the pick right now, returning from a season-ending injury earlier in last season. And then he's coming back and his team's 7-0, looking like the best team in the league. And he's looking like he might bring a 7th Super Bowl to Pittsburgh this season. So I think he's definitely well deserving of this award. Coming back from a terrible injury and already back to an elite level. You know, he's kind of getting overlooked as a potential MVP candidate. I don't necessarily think he's up there because his defense is definitely playing a huge part in the team's success right now, along with like the running game and all that. So he's, in my opinion, he's not necessarily carrying his team on his back, but he's definitely shown that he has helped elevate this team along with Tomlin, who I think is our next Coach of the Year pick, to bring this team to the level it's at right now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna agree with that pick. I definitely think it's gonna go to Ben Roethlisberger. He's been amazing this season so far. He's got a 67 completion percentage, 1,600 yards, 15 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. He's been great this season. The team's been great, like you said. Obviously, his defense is going to be there, and they're really going to win a lot of the games for him. But it's pretty tough not to give this to Big Ben. The other options are doing pretty good for themselves, but I definitely think it's going to go to Big Ben. He's not looking like prime Big Ben, but he's looking like a really good quarterback, really solid quarterback, and the Steelers are Super Bowl favorites, so I don't really see how you couldn't give it to him.
Agreed. All right, now we're going to move into our Rookie of the Year award, starting off with the defensive side of the ball with our Defensive Rookie of the Year. Our nominees are Patrick Queen for the Baltimore Ravens, Kenneth Murray for the Los Angeles Chargers, and Antoine Winfield for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My pick here is going to be Patrick Queen for the Baltimore Ravens. You know, he came in looking like one of the best linebackers in the draft, if not the best linebacker in the draft. And he's definitely shown that he was deserving of that hype coming out of college. He's had a great stat line his rookie year. He's played all 7 games for the Ravens, and he's had a total of he's had 1 pass defended, 2 forced fumbles, 2 from recoveries. 1 of them he took for a touchdown, 2 sacks, along with 4 tackles for loss, and 48 combined tackles and 5 QB hits. So he's not only making tackles in the box and getting in the backfield, he's also getting to the quarterback and getting sacks, as you saw by the 2 sacks and 5 QB hits. He's capitalizing on opportunities and getting turnovers. We talked about those 2 fumble recoveries, and he took one of those to the house. I think he's definitely deserving this award. The other 2 are good players, and you know, it's like we said, this is our midseason award, so we're not predicting they're going to win these awards for this season, but rather we think that if the season ended today, who is most deserving as of right now, and in my mind, that's Patrick Queen. You know, looking at his stats, and also his Ravens defense has been an elite defense in the league right now, and he's pretty much he's a valuable anchor in the middle there. There's loads of talent in that defense, and it's hard to shine as a rookie on a defense or offense, just any roster with a lot of talent. But he's done that. So I think that he is my Defensive Rookie of the Year pick halfway through the season.
As much as I would love to give it to Kenneth Murray, the stats don't lie. It's going to go to Patrick Queen. He's got one more tackle than Kenneth Murray, but he does have more fumbles, more QB hits, and he does have a touchdown to go along with that. Both have been really good this season, but Patrick Queen has really come out here. He's really made a name for himself on the defense. But I think it's really going to go to Patrick Queen. You pretty much summed it up. But all three players have been great. I think Kenneth Murray is definitely a close second. But in terms of stats and in terms of, I guess, effect on the team as a whole, I think Patrick Queen is definitely going to take this.
Now it's time for our Offensive Rookie of the Year award. So our nominees are going to be Joe Burrow for the Bengals, Justin Herbert for the Chargers, and Justin Jefferson for the Vikings. Knowing you as a Chargers fan, I think I know you're going to pick Herbie here, and he's definitely deserving of the award. I'm really split here between Burrow and Herbert, but so far, and there's just so many different aspects you have to look at in terms of who you could crown right now, the Offensive Rookie of the Year for the end season. And right now, if I was predicting, I would say Joe Burrow here because he's on pace to set rookie records, and if he does that, there's no way you can't give it to him. Like, if you go in the record books, you set like the all-time record for most passing yards or something like that as a rookie, and you didn't win Rookie of the Year. There's something wrong with that just because someone else had made some better averages. But so far for this season, I think Justin Herbert could be the guy. But I'm gonna go Joe Burrow here. For a few reasons. One, because obviously certain stats and totals are better than Herbert, while averages for Herbert may be better. But Burrow's also led his team to more success, in my opinion, with less talent around him. Herbert's had a bunch of injuries on his roster, but Burrow has had a A.J. Green who's looked washed up, and really his only reliable target has been Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins has kind of emerged a little bit later in the season now, but overall Tyler Boyd's really only been his reliable target. He hasn't had Joe Mixon the past couple of weeks, and he just came out and upset the Titans. He put a whooping on them, and as a Colts fan, I loved watching that, especially with no Mixon and a defense that is not good at all, especially against the run. I think that Burrow right now is putting his team on his back. His team isn't good, obviously. Both these quarterbacks don't have good teams, and they're both putting the quarterback team on their backs. But I just think that Joe Burrow has a little bit less talent around him, and that's why I'm going to give him this award, along with the fact that he just came out and beat one of the best teams in the NFL, at least in some people's minds, in the Titans. So, like I said, it could go either way for me, very close. But I'm just going to go Burrow one to keep it, to give two different point of views for this episode, because I know Jack's going to pick, and also because I definitely think that he has a really well-deserved he has a really well-made argument for him so far this season.
I definitely agree with you. It's very close. Burrow and Herbert, the two quarterbacks that I really like. They're two quarterbacks that are insanely talented. Tua hasn't really been looking amazing. He had one game, didn't have a stellar game, Herbert and Burrow. I don't even think it matters who wins. Both of them have cemented themselves as amazing quarterbacks. Both are going to be amazing talents for years to come, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm going to go with Herbert. I think he's been playing better overall. Overall stats may not show up, but he did have one less game. But if I'm being honest, I would say it's a tie. I'm going to pick Burrow here to make it more Herbert here to make it more interesting. I'm sorry. But both have been playing amazingly. Herbert, in my opinion, has been playing better. But like you said, both are pretty bad teams. And to be a rookie quarterback and to come in and play this well, that's rare because rookie quarterbacks are usually not seen as quarterbacks that would succeed. I think both Burrow and Herbert, especially Burrow, Burrow wasn't looked as, or I think some people thought he was a bust. A lot of people didn't expect Herbert to come in and start, and they thought that if he did start, it'd be a disaster. But both of them are proving haters wrong. Both of them are amazing quarterbacks, in my opinion. They're the next two, generational quarterbacks in the league, kind of like your Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. I just think the two stellar quarterbacks are both insanely skilled. They've both got all the potential in the world. Chargers have got a young team. The Bengals are going to get better in the future. And I think it's just great overall for both of them. But I say Herbert's going to win this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Burrow did. And I wouldn't be mad if Burrow did because both are stellar quarterbacks who both deserve the love and support from everyone else because they're both two insanely great talents.
Well said. Let's go on to our Defensive Player of the Year awards. So Our nominees for this award are going to be Aaron Donald for the Rams, Myles Garrett for the Browns, and TJ Watt for the Steelers. So my pick here is, as like I'm not a diehard Rams fan. I'm a diehard Colts fan, and I root for the Rams ever since they moved back to LA, my hometown. Um, because when I first got into football, there was no LA team, and my dad grew up a Rams fan, so I kind of adopted them as another team, and I definitely root for them. I was rooting really hard for them in the deep playoff run. I was super bummed when they missed out on the playoffs last year, and this year I'm definitely rooting hard for them to get back to the playoffs. Um, so you could call this a little bit biased, but I'm not like they're close to my number one though. So this is there's a little bit of bias, not so much, not as much as the Ballard pick though. So I'm gonna go with Aaron Donald here if you couldn't already guess. Myles Garrett still does, he's tied for the lead in sacks right now. Aaron Donald is right there with him. They both have 9. But Aaron Donald is just like he's double, triple teamed every single play. The big thing is that he's an interior D lineman doing this stuff, and he's the most disruptive player, most disruptive player on defense in the entire NFL. There's a very legit argument that he's the best player in the NFL because best non-quarterback in the NFL. I think definitely. I think the importance of quarterback trumps maybe. I think some quarterbacks will trump him based on the importance of the quarterback position. But he's definitely got a case for him. It's just as an interior D lineman to be putting up these stats. Normally they're there to just eat up blocks and just kind of stuff the middle. But he just gets all these crazy stats, and he almost broke the sack record a couple of years ago. So I definitely think he's doing it again. He's on pace to have another amazing sack season. He's currently the Rams have currently played 8 games. He had 9 sacks. He's currently on his way to 18 sacks, which would be a phenomenal number. That's this pace he's on. So I think he is the best defensive player in the league right now. So I'm gonna give him this midseason defensive player of the year award.
I'm also gonna go with Aaron Donald. You summed it up pretty much perfectly there. Aaron Donald, he's eating up all the blocks. He shouldn't be getting these stats, but he's the best defensive player in the league right now. He's just unstoppable, man. Aaron Donald, one of the best players in the league. He's going to go down as an all-time great. He's just that unstoppable. He's just that amazing of a player.
And then for our very next award, second to last award, Offensive Player of the Year. Our nominees are Alvin Kamara for the Saints, Derrick Henry for the Titans, and Dalvin Cook for the Vikings. My pick here is going to be Kamara. In terms of rushing the football, they're all running backs. That's what they're listed as. And in terms of rushing the football, Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook have better numbers than Kamara. But Kamara is such a do-it-all running back. He's on pace to have well over 1,000 yards receiving, close to 1,000 yards rushing, and close to 130 receptions, which is crazy numbers. He is, he's making such a big impact on his team right now because he's filling that hole that he filled that hole when Michael Thomas wasn't playing. He's really masking the decline of Drew Brees right now. I think it's hard. You can't say that Drew Brees isn't starting to decline. In my mind, he's still like a top 10-ish quarterback, but he's definitely not like a top 3 like he was I think 1 or 2 years ago. And Kamara's kind of really masking that, and this team's still having great success because of Kamara's offensive ability right now. He scored 7 total touchdowns for his team, which is almost as much as Breeze. And if you take away, it's crazy, man. I just think that Kamara just making such a profound impact on this team right now. You can't give it to him. You can't not give it to him. Derrick Henry, I think Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook also, I think, definitely carry their team's offenses. But I do think that Ryan Tannehill stepped it up for Tennessee this year, and also Derrick Henry isn't much of a do-it-all back like Kamara is. Kamara can just do absolutely everything. And Dalvin Cook, you make the argument he's a do-all back as well, but Kamara's team is having a lot more success than Dalvin Cook's team is. I think you could say Kamara's doing a little bit of a better job carrying his team there. There's a little bit more help around him, but still, I'm gonna go with Kamara here, and yeah, I just think he's just the best player on the team and the best player on a really good team. And normally the quarterback's the best player on a really good team because most time when you have an elite quarterback, you're an elite team. That's what happens most of the time. But now, an elite team, depending on your definition of elite, by the way, you can consider the Saints like a really good team, but not elite, but a really good team with the best player on the team being Kamara. So I'm going to go with Kamara here for our Offensive Player of the Year award.
I don't really think you can debate with Kamara being the best best offensive player in the league right now. He is the best running back, but in terms of sheer dominance, I'd say Derrick Henry. He's probably the most dominant running back in the league. He's going to go down as one of the most dominant of all time. He's one of the strongest. The sheer power that man has is just scary. But Kamara, he's a threat. I'd say in the receiving game almost as much. I'd say more than he is in the rushing game, to be honest. He's stellar, both rushing and receiving, and he is the best player on that team right now. So I'm going to give it to Kamara. He's putting up crazy stat lines in fantasy. Maybe not as much as Devontae Adams because for some reason he's putting up like 40 to 50 points a night, which is just scary. It's just unheard of. But Kamara is definitely going to be the best running back in the league, in my opinion. He's just dominant overall. He's the best player on the team easily. One of the best running backs in the league. He is the best receiving back in the league. And his stats really do show that. His receiving stats, his rushing stats are going to show that. He's an amazing player. On a pretty good team, and he's the best player on that team, and he's pretty much keeping their hopes alive.
All right, for our final award, we have the MVP award. Our nominees are going to be Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and then Kyler Murray. He's their questionable nominee. He's not our pick. He's not either of our picks. That third nominee spot could have gone to Tom Brady, maybe Patrick Mahomes, maybe. There's lots of guys that could have gone to, but we picked Kyler Murray. Just because I think he's definitely just because we think he's breaking out this season and is also just so fun to watch. And normally a lot of the times MVP is a popularity award, which I think Kyler would end up winning if it was between, everyone besides Russell and Aaron Rodgers. But my pick for the MVP is going to be Russell Wilson because we're including Russell and Aaron Rodgers. So, he's an all-time great, Russell Wilson. You can't debate that. He's a Hall of Famer easily. And he's the best he's ever been. We talked about around week 4 or 5. He was on historic pace. He's on a historic pace in terms of passing touchdowns. And he's still filling out the stat sheet well. His team's one of the best in the league. So his team's playing well. He's not just padding stats and losing games. He's getting stats and winning games. He showed up big in big moments. They've won a lot of tight games. Their most recent win against the 49ers was really pretty much their only win that wasn't close. He did have one questionable game against the Cardinals, but you take out that, he's been absolutely impeccable all season long. And overall, I think that, Russell Wilson, he's never received a single MVP vote. I think that'll change this year. Whether or not, he wins it, he'll definitely get at least one vote, in my opinion. And this is a very suspect defense that he's kind of carrying around on his shoulders. And he could take this team, which is, I don't want to use the word suspect again, but it's a suspect overall roster. And he could take him to a Lombardi Trophy. I'd like to see him go out with another one. I think it'd be a great story to see him, come out here, win the MVP, win the Super Bowl after never seeing an MVP vote, and the roster has a lot of injuries, and obviously their GM's done a great job improving this roster in the offseason, but it's still not as good as some of the other rosters in the league, but they're still one of the best teams in the league. I think Russell Wilson is just carrying his team right now on his back. He's great. He's a great all-time quarterback. He's definitely gonna be a Hall of Famer, like I said, and he's at his peak. Like a Hall of Famer at their peak should definitely win MVP in my mind, and his performance on the field and his team's performance, I think, definitely proves that.
I'm gonna go with Russ here too. He's just a phenomenal player. He's my MVP favorite on a phenomenal team. He summed it up, bro. He's a stellar player. He puts up crazy stat lines. He gets better with age. I really cannot see this not going to him. I guess it could go to Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't been as good as he was earlier in the season. I mean, especially after taking a tough loss to the Vikings. But Russ is definitely going to get my vote. He's an amazing player. He's a great person as well, but that doesn't really matter voting-wise. But he is a stellar player. He's putting up crazy stat lines. He is leading his team. He has a great receiving core to throw to, so he's going to get my vote for the best player.
Thank you for watching our 2020 NFL Midseason Awards. Like we said at the beginning of the episode, we'll be coming at you later in the week with our updated 2020 NFL final standings predictions and along with some playoff predictions. Let us know what you thought of our takes down in the comments. Let us know your opinion. If you enjoyed, remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, doing whatever. And hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.